Good morning, sixth graders. Welcome to technology class week 29. Today's the last day of the third quarter, but we actually are doing a lesson, the last lesson in second step, and there's no assignment or anything. This is more of an informative lesson, kind of to bring awareness to a very important topic that is a part of all of our lives, and especially as you get into your teenage years. So we're going to be talking about drug and alcohol prevention here. And so we'll get to that in a minute, but hopefully everybody turned in all of their third quarter assignments. Today is the last day. So if you failed technology class, that's very, very sad because you had so many chances to turn in your work. And it really is just a reflection of a choice that you've made, right? We all have choices, even on our worst days when everything is attacking us and it feels like our entire lives are falling apart. We always have a choice, right? I mean, even when somebody puts a gun to our head, we still have a choice, right? So it's just our choice is in our attitude, our choice is in what we choose to do, right? When things get hard, do we just choose to give up? Do we choose to keep moving forward? And I get it. This season has really, really been awful. I've really been struggling, even myself, just with this being in here in the room all day doing the videos. But we have to keep moving forward, right? And so part of your responsibility as a student is to keep learning, right? No matter what's going on in the world or whatever, you're just going to keep learning and moving forward and making sure that you're gaining the skills and knowledge that you need to move yourself ahead in your life. So that's your responsibility. Okay, so we are moving on now. This is our last lesson in the second step curriculum. So after today, when we return from break, we will be moving into computer science and be doing our coding lessons. And we'll be doing that for the rest of the school year. So today we are going to be talking about drugs and alcohol, and there's a lot of videos with information for you. Why are we doing this? We're doing this because these things are in the world, and they're not only adults, but young adults and kids also get involved with drugs and alcohol. And they can be very, very dangerous to our bodies because it's chemicals and it alters our brain and it can impact our lungs and our organs. And so we really need to stop and think what our goals are in our life. And do we want to, have those goals really be messed up and maybe never even happened because we made a choice to get involved with drugs and alcohol. And so the easiest way to never have to worry about letting drugs and alcohol get in the way of your life is to never even mess around with them. Just don't even try them because then you don't even have to worry about getting addicted because you never even put it in your body. But I realize that there's a lot of pressures, especially peer pressures, around getting kids to try these things. And so you really, again, you have to stop and think, well, why does it matter to me? And how will I stay strong if I'm around a group of kids and everybody's doing it and I'm the only one who doesn't want to? How will I stay strong? So we're going to be looking into some of those things. But let me just start off by putting on the first video. And then, so there's a lot of videos today. So please try and just follow along. They're just all informational.
In middle school, you do a lot of changing. Your brain and your body are growing very fast. While this is happening, you are especially sensitive to the damaging effects of substances. Alcohol, tobacco, and other drugs have powerful effects on your brain. So powerful that your brain can change and you start to want those substances more than other things, and eventually more than anything else. This is called addiction, and it can drive people to use drugs or drink even when it causes them problems, gets in the way of their goals, and hurts others around them. Anyone who uses drugs can become addicted. There's no way to tell who will get addicted or how quickly it might happen.
One of the things I've seen happen with kids who get really sucked into excessive drinking is that it becomes the only thing that they want to do, and they kind of lose control over the choice that they have to drink or not to drink because the weekend rolls around, it's just what they do. It becomes instinct for them, and it's just part of their personality.
Because I know how it affects people. I know that because I know a lot of people who are alcoholics, including my family members, some of my family members, that it could happen to me easily.
I have this friend who was drinking a lot and smoking, and she, like, when she starts drinking and smoking, she acts really different, and so she does things that she doesn't really regularly do.
Okay, so they're talking a lot about addiction here, right? And how, and this may be very similar with you guys. Maybe you have some people in your family. They could be alcoholics, or maybe they've fallen into drugs. Some of the more popular things nowadays, which we're going to mention, prescription drugs. A lot of people, they get on painkillers for one reason, and then they're not able to stop. They just they need it. They need to have the high that they get from the painkillers, and they become addicted. They'll do anything to get it. And there's also something called vaping, which are e-cigarettes, and they're advertised a lot as kind of like, oh, the safer way, but they've been found to be way more dangerous even than regular cigarettes, the damage that they do to your lungs. And they really try to make it trendy and cool for younger kids because they have all these different flavors that you can put into the e-cigarette: cotton candy, bubblegum, strawberry. And then it makes it seem like, oh, it's this harmless, fun candy, but it really isn't. And they've come out with kids who are 17 years old who have been vaping for a year or something, and their lungs are more damaged than a 9-year-old who was smoking for 50 years. And so it really is amazing the damage that it does to the lungs in such a short amount of time. And kids just don't even have the knowledge of this, which is why they just think, oh, yeah, whatever, it's strawberry flavored, it's probably harmless. And they don't realize how harmless it is, how harmful it is. And what else did I want to mention? Oh yeah, with COVID-19 now, they've been finding that young kids who are vapors, they have been the ones who have been getting COVID and getting it in a worse case because their lungs are already compromised from the vaping and are already damaged. So it really is interesting to see how, these newer things are impacting youth these days. And they're getting into these things and they're not able to really stop, right? Because when you get addicted, your body just needs it, it wants it, you'll do anything to get it. And it's very, very hard to stop. Okay, so I'm going to continue with the videos. So let's watch the one about tobacco.
True or false? You cannot become addicted to tobacco after smoking just a few cigarettes. That's false. Just a few cigarettes or smoking for a few days is enough to addict some people. Tobacco is so addictive that only 1 out of every 20 people who tries to quit smoking can do it for a whole year. The younger you start smoking, the harder it is to quit. And you're also more likely to harm your body and your health. Smoking tobacco is bad for your heart and is a major cause of heart attacks. The lungs of teenagers who smoke aren't able to grow as well. You can't breathe as efficiently, so you're not as fit, and you'll have a harder time playing sports. More than 90% of the people with lung cancer get it from smoking. Lung cancer kills more people than any other kind. Teens who smoke have more colds, coughs, throat and nose problems, and more phlegm. Besides health problems, tobacco use can lead to lots of other problems.
I noticed, for other kids at my school, when they smoked, they didn't have much energy. They looked like they look kind of dreary, and especially if they were heavier smokers,
I don't smoke cigarettes because they're nasty. Eat smoker's breath.
I choose not to smoke because, just the smell and, how, you can, go hug somebody that smokes and you just want to, it's just nasty.
I don't smoke cigarettes because I don't want to hurt my lungs. I don't want to, that's gross. I wouldn't go to the store and spend $5 on a box of cancer sticks. That's pretty gross.
If you smoke, there's no way. I've seen people who do it and they can't do it. They can never last a full quarter, a full game. You know, they're winded. They're trying to catch their breath. They're, you know, breathing heavily. It's like, stop smoking.
Okay, so some of you may know smokers. I know I've known a lot of smokers in my family and friends and things, and it really is very addicting. I mean, they cannot stop. You know, I've even known some chain smokers who, I mean, it's like every hour they're out there. And I had my one uncle died from lung cancer, a smoker for a very, very long time, could never was able to stop. And eventually he died from lung cancer. So it was very tragic. And so just seeing what these things do to the body, it's terrible to watch. And I mean, look at this, beautiful lungs that God created destroyed by cigarettes, right? And so you really have to think, you know, the Bible says that we're supposed to really take care of our temple, and our temple is our body. And that means, you know, not only the foods that we eat, exercise, sleeping well, and making sure that we're not putting harmful things like tobacco into our bodies, right? So that we can live a long life and be able to do all of the amazing things that God has planned for us. Okay, so let's move on. So the next video is marijuana. So this is also, you may hear people talk about weed or pot, smoking a joint, these types of things. It's referred to a lot in like sometimes a lot of music songs out there refer to this, even some shows that you might watch. And so this is something now that's really out there if you follow the news at all, because there's a lot of states now that are legalizing marijuana, saying that there's no more penalty for, you know, being caught using it, because, and they're like allowing it in a way. And that does not mean by any means that it's a safe thing to do, because look, tobacco, cigarettes are legal. You can go buy them at the store if you're 18, but that doesn't mean they're safe, right? And some things to mention about marijuana that a lot of kids don't realize is that they might think, oh yeah, but it's like something that grows out of the earth. It's natural. That's what you hear a lot of people say. But that's definitely not the marijuana that people are smoking every day. That marijuana has been in the hands of multiple people. And a lot of the times it's laced and sprayed with chemicals and other drugs. They've found like cocaine in it. They found some parts of marijuana sprayed with like Lysol and other chemicals. And then imagine you're going and you're smoking in that stuff, and it's going into your body, and it's affecting your brain and your lungs, your nervous system. And so, yes, they might advertise it as this herb or whatever, you know, thing that it's going to really help calm you down. And you hear a lot of the times people saying, well, you know, it's medicinal and they use it for cancer patients, right? And that's not the same form of marijuana that they're using for cancer patients. And that also does not make it safe, right? I mean, if you look at many of the drugs that are out there on the market, prescription drugs that I'm talking about, if you've ever seen commercials for them on TV, they always end the commercial with, this drug may have the risk of killing you. It may give you long-term heart problems. It may damage your brain. You may go blind, right? And so as we know, just because they're using these things as treatments doesn't mean that there aren't side effects and harmful effects that can come out of using anything. Even something that they're advertising as a good thing, like a prescription drug or medicinal marijuana, doesn't mean that it's just perfect and it's going to do exactly, you know, that, and it's not going to harm your body. So you really do have to be careful with what you believe. Okay, so let me put on this video. Let's watch this one.
More than half of the teens in drug treatment programs are there because of marijuana. When people become addicted to marijuana, they can't stop smoking it, even though it can hurt their friendships, their families, and even their schoolwork. Marijuana makes it more likely you'll get hurt or have an accident because it affects your judgment, coordination, and ability to pay attention. It also hurts your health. Marijuana smokers can develop the same kinds of breathing problems as cigarette smokers and are more likely to get lung infections like pneumonia. Marijuana can harm your memory and learning skills. It has negative effects on the hippocampus, a brain area in charge of memory formation. And here's another good reason not to smoke marijuana. You'd be breaking the law. Besides health and legal problems, marijuana use can lead to lots of other problems.
Why would you want to throw away your mind just to go get high?
One of the really scary things about marijuana is, along with alcohol, excessive use of it, or any use of it at all really, results in you losing control over whether you want it or whether you need it. And I have a lot of friends who have to get high in order to not feel really bad. And I've seen that affect them in really scary ways. It's really disturbing to see someone, have a substance that controls an entire aspect of their life, and to not be able to feel happy unless you have this drug.
There's this boy I know, he used to be like my best friend, and he was really smart. Like, he could figure out anything like quick minute. But as soon as he started smoking marijuana, he was smoking it like every day, every single day. There wasn't no day when he wasn't smoking it. And he just started dumbing himself down.
In school, I've seen that kids that smoke marijuana or have marijuana, they get expelled. And I see that they're not in really good shape, and they have a hard time breathing and all that.
So I had a friend who I met in 5th grade, and he was really nice, and all the girls thought he was cute, and he was really popular, and he had a lot of goals. And now, because of smoking, he just sits there. Like, when we go out with friends and stuff, he'll be in the corner just sitting there looking at everyone and like, hey, just like, hey. And so he's not really exciting. He's not popular anymore. Not many people talk to him because he doesn't have anything to say, really. And he doesn't go to school much. So not much going for him anymore.
Okay, so, and this is really true. I can even speak from experience of being around kids as a teen. And, like, I've tried cigarettes a few times. I'm saying like 1 or 2 times, and I always just thought it was disgusting, and I never wanted to do it anymore. And I've been around groups of kids that were smoking marijuana, and I even dated somebody as a teenager, one of my boyfriends, and it was really terrible just watching this person always needing to have that. And I just like, this is not what I want, and like, to be around. And it's just really sad because these kids have potential. They're smart kids, but they just fall into these things, and they think somehow, I don't know, it's going to be fun or whatever, it's going to make them feel good. And it's really not. It's a lie. It really is. It's deceiving. And then you get addicted, and then you really don't want to damage your brain. I'm just telling you, like, watching people destroy their lives is just such a terrible thing, especially young kids, because your brain isn't fully developed until you're like 25. And so you think those teen years when you want to have the acceptance and approval of your peers, and they're all doing that, but then it's like you're like throwing your brain away. Like, why do you want to do that? So that's why I hope to just bring an awareness to you guys, and I really just pray in Jesus' name that it would stick with you, and that you would just remember, gosh, I don't want to do that to my brain. I don't want to do that to my body. I don't care if everybody else is doing it. It is not worth it. I just don't care. I want to stay strong. Like, that's my hope and my prayer for you guys, because it really is terrible to see that, that kind of destruction. Okay, so now in our next part of the lesson, we're going to play the video about alcohol. So let me put that on.
Starting to drink alcohol at this time in your life can affect you in a lot of ways, none of them good. Teens who drink do worse in school and are more likely to fall behind. And because your brain and body are still growing and developing, the damage alcohol does can be more serious. Did you know that drinking large amounts of alcohol quickly can kill you through alcohol poisoning? Or that the #1 cause of death for teens and young adults is car accidents related to alcohol? Harm done to your brain during your teen years can impact how it functions for the rest of your life. Teen drinkers can damage their hippocampus. Remember? That's the part of the brain responsible for memory and learning. Drinking even a small amount of alcohol can harm learning and memory far more in the teen brain than in the adult brain. Teen drinkers can also permanently change their personality and behavior by damaging their prefrontal cortex, a part of the brain needed for decision-making and reasoning. Drinking alcohol leads to a loss of coordination, poor judgment, slowed reflexes, distorted vision, memory lapses, and even blackouts. And here's another good reason not to start drinking alcohol now. It's illegal. You can end up in a lot of trouble with the law. Besides that, alcohol use can lead to lots of other problems.
One of the things that can kind of start happening when kids get into drinking and start losing control over that is that, that becomes the only thing that they can think about and the only thing that they can do. And when the weekend rolls around, it's just automatically from Friday until, about Sunday morning, it's just drinking. And you can't think of them any other way. And you don't want to hang out with them because you know that that's the only thing that they're going to be doing.
When people ask me if I drink or not, I just tell them, pretty much, I just say it, I don't drink. Because I know how it affects people. I know that because I know a lot of people who are alcoholic, including my family members, some of my family members, that it could happen to me easily if I have the same mindset. Because, people where I come from, it's just so depressing. They think, oh, I'm never going to get anywhere. Half the kids on the reservations don't even graduate high school, So, and it just reminds me of those people who don't think that they can get anywhere. And that's not how I want to live my life.
And so, there's a clique of people, I'm sure they've all kind of found something like they like to do. And so when it comes, every Friday and Saturday, they get together and essentially go make bad decisions and, go drink and drive or go to a party and, take the chance of getting caught, And some kids who play sports, it reflects on them very poorly. And like I said, partying, there's the risk, it's underage drinking, it's illegal, If the cops come to that party because one of the neighbors calls, and then there's athletes in there who have a scholarship code to, abide by, they're done. They won't be on the sport team, and if it's their senior year, what are they going to do? They're stuck.
Yeah, and they brought up a lot of good points in there, right? Because alcohol is something that it can be pretty easy to get because obviously there's liquor stores and then parents buy it and they keep it in the house and maybe kids know an older kid that gets it for them. And then it's just, oh, well, whatever, everybody drinks. I see my parents having wine at dinner or something. I see my dad having a beer, and it's really not, you have to stop and think about your age, right? Like they said, your brain isn't fully developed until you're 25. So if you're drinking a lot in those teen years, you could be stunting your growth and your brain development. And yes, there are adults who do drink, and maybe at some point when you are an adult, you might have a glass of wine or something. I don't know. But again, there's, you're being responsible. It's not like you're drinking to the point where you're drunk, right? And it's something that you're doing every day. I mean, that can be very dangerous, and it can be very harmful to your body. And like a lot of the kids were mentioning, there was the one girl which was making me remember, I used to work, when I lived back in Seattle, I used to work at a high school. It was about 30 miles north of Seattle, and we had a large population of Native American students. They would be bussed in from the reservations because there's a lot of Native American reservations in northern Washington. And it was very sad. I've worked with a lot of Native American students and their families. A lot of them are alcoholics, drug addicts. And these kids, they come from homes that are just so broken and they have really no support system. And it was just so sad to see them struggling through so many different issues because of alcohol. And it really would always break my heart seeing these kids. And, they should have been able to just been focusing on their learning, but instead they had to deal with so many issues with the family and violence and alcoholism and all these terrible things that kids shouldn't be having to deal with. And I always felt so sad, just seeing everything that they need to, that they had to go through. But for you guys, it really is a choice that you can make to stay strong and say, that's not going to be me, right? And even if your family is like that, you don't have to. Remember, we're Christians. You have a brand new identity. Whatever your family, the identity that they had, if you've had alcoholics in your family, that's not you. Remember, you're a new creation. And so you can say, I have the blood of Jesus, and that makes me new. And I'm not like them, and I won't be like them, right? And you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, and he can keep you strong. So that way you don't succumb to the temptation of peer pressure or whatever into, thinking that, oh, well, everybody else is drinking, I might as well just have a drink. And so it is an important thing for you guys to start thinking about. I know you're in 6th grade, but time goes by so fast, and then you'll be in 9th grade, right? And many of you will go to larger public high schools, and you'll have to really think about how you'll respond to these things. Okay, so let's watch this video about inhalants, which is something that I feel like we don't hear about too much, but it is something that kids do participate in.
Inhalants are toxic or poisonous substances that can be inhaled or breathed into the lungs. They contain chemicals that have powerful effects on your brain and body. Inhalants can kill you the very first time you use them. When you breathe in an inhalant, your heart can suddenly stop or can be seriously damaged permanently. Using inhalants over and over can cause lung damage. Inhalants can cause brain damage. They can change your personality, make it harder to think, and hurt your memory. Many different parts of the brain are affected by inhalants. Cells in the cerebral cortex die, causing memory loss and learning problems. Damage is done to the cerebellum, resulting in loss of coordination and slurred speech. You can lose your sense of hearing, your sense of smell, and your eyesight can be damaged.
Well, so yeah, and they're talking about anything from permanent markers to paint to glue. These are things that, believe it or not, kids are inhaling them and they're getting high, and they don't realize that it's really damaging. Okay, so what else did I want to show you guys? I know this video is probably way too long, but the last part of the lesson that they were talking about is thinking about your future and how using any of these things can really impact your future, and that you want to really do the best that you can to protect yourself from going down this road of becoming addicted to drugs or alcohol and having it negatively impact your body and your goals for the future, right? So let me just hang on one sec. I just want to pull this up. Okay, so I just pulled up this sheet. This is from the second step lessons for 6th grade, just as a quick review. But so tobacco is as addictive as heroin or cocaine, which are stronger drugs that can be very deadly and dangerous. You can start feeling addicted with even just a few cigarettes. And there's so many people. There's 35 million people in the US that try to quit smoking every year, and it's very, very hard. And people who start young have the hardest time because their bodies are so used to it. There's 4,000 toxic substances in cigarette smoke. That's crazy, right? The lungs of teenagers who smoke aren't able to grow as well. They have more colds, coughs, throat and nose problems, and lung cancer kills more people than any other kind of cancer. And that's true. If you check the cancer statistics, lung cancer is the leading cancer that kills people. Because why? Because so many people smoke and they make a choice to do it, right? To harm their body. It can cause heart attacks. It can, I don't know if you've ever looked at the teeth of somebody who smokes. It's disgusting. Usually they have yellow teeth. Usually their skin looks very like wrinkly and like, it's really, really gross. Marijuana, you can become addicted to it. and it can be cancer causing as well. It can harm your memory, your learning. It can affect your self-control, your sense of time, your ability to pay attention. People are getting into car accidents all the times because of marijuana. And so it can be something that is so harmful. And then let me show you guys, I'm just kind of skipping ahead here. So with alcohol, it says people who begin drinking by the age of 15 are 5 times more likely to abuse or become dependent on alcohol. They're more likely to suffer from depression, suicidal thoughts, violence. It can damage the teen's brains. It can harm their learning and their memory, which that's so scary. It can cause sickness, dizziness, clumsiness, bad breath, make your skin break out. It just sounds disgusting. There's so many car accidents that are related to drinking and driving. So dangerous to get behind the wheel when you're drunk. And inhalants we talked about too, right? How they can really just impact all of your 5 senses and your brain development. So why are we doing this lesson? Because I want you guys to get an awareness of this. And we do these lessons throughout middle school, so until 8th grade, in the hopes of getting this into you. And so then that way you can be informed and you can have an awareness that it isn't just, oh, this is fun, no, this is serious. You're making a choice about something that could really impact your body. And why in the world would you want to do that to yourself when you have such an amazing future and God has such an amazing plan for your life? Do you really want to do something that's going to get in the way of that? No, right? You want to make good choices and take care of your body. And you want to be leaders and influencers for good, not that other people are leading and influencing you for bad, right? So that is about it. There's no assignment. When we return from the break, we will be moving into our computer science, computer coding lessons. And if you have any questions about anything we talked about in today's lesson with drugs and alcohol, you know where to find me. I'm available to speak with you if you have questions specifically, you've had involvement with this, or you just want to talk more about it. Definitely feel free to come and talk. All right, guys? All right, so we'll see you in April. Bye, guys.